The private lounge was dimly lit, the sound of music and laughter bleeding through the thick walls from the grand party outside. The faint scent of whiskey and expensive cigars lingered in the air, mixing with the tension that crackled between the three men seated around a sleek, transparent table. Jungkook leaned back in his seat, fingers tapping against the glass of whiskey in front of him. His jaw was tight, irritation flickering in his dark eyes as he listened to the conversation he clearly wanted no part of. Across from him, Jack was leaned forward, elbows resting on the table, his expression serious. Next to him, Mr. Beak sat with an air of authority, his piercing gaze fixed on Jungkook. Mr. Beak, Jungkook, you don't have a choice here. His deep voice echoed through the room, cutting through the muffled music outside. Jungkook exhaled sharply, already knowing what was coming next. Jack, you either go undercover and gather intel, or you walk in there unprepared and get yourself killed. Jungkook scoffed, shaking his head in frustration. Jungkook, you're exaggerating. Jack leaned closer, voice dropping into a lower, dead serious tone. Jack, am I? They're not just making fake copies of our arms, they're smuggling them under our name, framing us for crimes we never committed. Riverside Heights is the center of their operation. If we don't shut it down soon, we won't just lose control of the business, we'll lose everything, including our anonymity. Jungkook exhaled sharply, rubbing his temple. He knew they were right, he knew the danger, but what pissed him off was how they expected him to go about it. Jungkook, and you think the best way for me is by becoming a pizza boy? His voice dripped with disbelief, his fingers tightening around the whiskey glass. Mr. Beak merely nodded, his tone unwavering. Mr. Beak, exactly. Jungkook let out a humorless laugh, shaking his head in disbelief. Jungkook, do I look like someone who delivers pizza for a living? Double quotes. Mr. Beak remained unbothered. Mr. Beak, no, and that's precisely why no one will suspect you. Jungkook clenched his jaw, leaning forward. Jungkook, you want me to wear a stupid uniform, ride a bike, and knock on doors saying, "Here's your pizza, Mom," while investigating a goddamn crime syndicate? Jack smirked, enjoying Jungkook's misery a little too much. Jack, pretty much. Jungkook shot him a glare, but Mr. Beak cut in, his tone firm. Mr. Beak, this isn't up for discussion. We've already arranged for the pizzeria. You'll be working there undercover until the mission is complete. He paused, then added in a pointed tone. Mr. Beak, and I expect you to learn basic delivery etiquette. You can't blow your cover because your pride is hurt. Jungkook groaned, dragging a hand down his face. This was a nightmare. Mr. Beak stood up, signaling the conversation was over. He patted Jungkook's shoulder as he walked past him. Mr. Beak, welcome to your new job. Jungkook, you start tomorrow. And with that, he left the room. Jungkook slumped back in his seat, staring at the ceiling in frustration. Jack chuckled beside him, standing up to leave. Jungkook, Jack, come on man, you do it instead. Jack stretched his arms lazily, smirking as he walked toward the exit. Jack, nah bro, you're on your own. I gotta get home. It's getting late, but hey, good luck delivering pizzas. Maybe you'll get a tip. Jungkook shot him a glare as Jack disappeared through the door. The room fell into silence, leaving Jungkook alone with his thoughts. He exhaled heavily, running a hand through his hair. Jungkook, a damn pizza boy, what the hell am I doing with my life? Tomorrow was going to be the worst day of his life. The dimly lit shop buzzed with the low hum of ovens, the occasional flicker of beeping breaking the quietness. The air was thick with tension, the weight of an ongoing mission pressing down on them like a storm about to break. Mr. Beak sat forward in his chair, his sharp eyes fixed on the glowing screen in front of him. The dim light reflected off his face, his features tense as he observed the live feed of encrypted data scrolling across the screen. Jungkook stood nearby, adjusting the stiff fabric of his new uniform, a red polo shirt, black jeans, and a cap that made him look anything but himself. His expression twisted in frustration as he tugged at the hem of his shirt. Mr. Beak, looks like you've got your first delivery, he finally said, his voice calm but edged with something darker. Jungkook rolled his eyes, shifting his weight onto one leg. Jungkook, great. Let's get this humiliation started. But before he could complain further, he caught the shift in Mr. Beak's expression. The older man's jaw tightened, his gaze flicking between screens. The atmosphere in the room shifted from casual to deadly serious. Jack, who had been helping Jungkook adjust his cap, frowned and stepped closer. Jack, what's wrong? Mr. Beak exhaled slowly before speaking. Mr. Beak, Jungkook, listen carefully. This isn't just some random order. This location is suspicious. Jungkook's grip on the cap tightened. He could feel the weight of the mission pressing down on him now, the ridiculous disguise suddenly feeling more significant. Mr. Beak, Riverside Heights is a known hotspot for illegal activity. Mr. Beak continued, his voice lower now. The people we're after are operating somewhere in that area, either inside this building or close by. This could be our first real lead. Jungkook straightened, his playful irritation vanishing as he focused on every word. Mr. Beak, if you're delivering to an apartment, take the time to observe your surroundings, security setups, entrances, exits, anything unusual. Mr. Beak instructed, and whatever you do, don't take unnecessary risks. If something seems off, report it immediately. Understood? Jungkook exhaled sharply, nodding. Jungkook, understood. Mr. Beak handed him the pizza box, his expression unreadable. Mr. Beak, remember, you're just a delivery boy tonight. Act like one. Jungkook muttered something under his breath as he grabbed the pizza. Jungkook, right, pizza boy, just great. Jack smirked, slapping Jungkook on the back as he walked past him. Jack, welcome to the service industry, rich boy. Jungkook shot him a glare before pulling up his mask, concealing the lower half of his face. He didn't just need to hide his identity, he needed to hide the irritation burning inside him. This was going to be a long night. Jungkook stood at the base of Riverside Heights, the evening air cool against his skin. He glanced at his watch. He was exactly on time as planned, a subtle mix of nerves and adrenaline buzzed beneath his calm exterior. It wasn't the task at hand that bothered him, but the unfamiliarity of it. The luxury of his life had always allowed him to move freely in the world, but tonight, everything was different. He was blending into the shadows, stepping away from the powerful image of himself. He was early, too early. Instead of knocking, he took his time scanning the area, memorizing the layout of the hallways, the nearest exits, and even the blind spots of the building's security cameras. Old habits died hard, even while doing something as simple as delivering a pizza. His instincts as a mafia leader refused to rest. But tonight, he wasn't here as a mafia leader. Tonight, he was just Jungkook, the delivery guy. He wasn't nervous per se, but his heart beat a little faster as he stood outside apartment 407, the room where the order had come from. It wasn't like him to hide his identity. He was usually the one giving the orders, not following them. But this was the mission he had been assigned, and his reputation demanded that he complete it. He took one last glance around, making sure everything was in place. No signs of danger, no sudden movement in the shadows. Perfect. With a steady hand, he rang the doorbell, his thumb lingering on the button for a moment longer than usual. His senses were sharp, hyper-aware of every sound around him. But the seconds stretched, and his mind started to wander. And then, the door creaked open. Jungkook instinctively took a step back, keeping his eyes focused on the pizza box in his hands. Jungkook, here's your pizza, miss, enjoy, he said, his voice steady. The rehearsed lines felt natural now, but it wasn't his words that had his attention. No, it was you. He didn't look up at first, kept his gaze locked on the pizza, trying to maintain control, trying to fight the unexpected reaction brewing inside him. But as he finally lifted his gaze, his breath caught in his throat. There you were, standing in the doorway, only a thin bathrobe loosely draped over your body, damp strands of hair framing your face. The soft glow of the hallway light caught the edges of your lashes, making them appear even more striking, and your eyes, dark, intense, and completely hypnotizing, met his, locking onto him in a way that sent an unexpected jolt through his chest. His pulse quickened, his breath slightly uneven. He swallowed hard, his throat suddenly dry. He couldn't take his eyes off you. His gaze unconsciously shifted to your collarbone, then back to your face. But the regret hit him instantly. He had looked too long too obviously. A quick flash of a smirk crossed your lips, making his heart skip a beat. Jungkook, miss, he repeated, voice a little softer than before. Your pizza. But you didn't reach for it. Not right away. There was a moment of silence as you stood there, a mischievous glint in your eyes. Jungkook felt the tension build, the awkwardness of the situation creeping in. He was used to being in control, but right now, he felt a bit off balance. Yin, where's Miss Yuna, you asked, your voice smooth and casual, like it was just another ordinary question. Jungkook blinked a few times, stunned by your directness, but he managed to keep his composure. His gaze darted around, anywhere but at you, trying to find something solid to ground him. Jungkook, We rented her shop for a few days, he said, his voice unsure for just a second. She went to her family for some personal issues. You raised an eyebrow, your gaze observing him, but then you nodded, a slight smile tugging at your lips. There was something playful, something almost challenging in your expression, and it made him feel unsettled. Finally, you reached for the pizza, your fingers intentionally brushing against his. Jungkook flinched. He didn't mean to. It was a natural reaction, but as soon as he felt your touch, his heart skipped, his breath faltered, and his whole body tensed in a way that felt completely out of place. He quickly pulled his hand back, as if burned. But you didn't seem to mind. In fact, you seemed to enjoy the moment, your lips curling into a knowing smirk. Yin, relax boy, you said, the teasing tone unmistakable. What's your name? His heart skipped again. Jungkook didn't know how to answer. His heart was racing, and for the first time in a long while, he was unsure of what to do. His fingers gripped the empty bag a little tighter, his pulse hammering in his ears. He swallowed hard. I'm Jungkook, he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. He cursed himself internally for sounding so weak. You gave him a playful smile, almost as if you found amusement in his flustered state. Yin, you're a shy one, aren't you? The words cut through the haze in his mind. Shy? Him? He had never been described that way before. Never. But the way you said it, so effortlessly, so confidently, made him feel exposed, almost vulnerable. He shook his head quickly, as if to clear the dizziness from his thoughts. Jungkook, I should leave, he muttered, taking a step back. Thank you. You leaned casually against the doorframe, your eyes following his every movement. The way you watched him, like you could see right through him, sent a shiver down his spine. Jungkook turned to leave, but before he could step away, his gaze caught yours one more time. You were still watching him, your eyes intense and piercing. His breath hitched. For a moment, it felt like time froze. His feet felt heavy as he stepped into the elevator, his finger pressing the button a little too forcefully. He was sure you were still watching him, still smiling that knowing smile. His chest tightened as the door slowly closed, and all he could hear was the rush of his own heartbeat. Jungkook, God, what was that? He muttered to himself, his mind still racing. He stared at his fingers, still feeling the lingering sensation of your touch. He cursed himself again. I'm a mafia, he whispered to himself, trying to convince himself of the lie. How could I act like that? But the truth was, he didn't understand it. He wasn't the type to get flustered. He wasn't the type to feel nervous. Girls had never been his focus. He has always thought of them as distractions. But something about you, something in the way you looked at him, made him feel exposed in a way he hadn't experienced in years. Shaking his head, Jungkook forced the thought away. He needed to focus on the mission. He couldn't afford to get distracted. But no matter how hard he tried to push it away, the memory of your eyes, your smirk, your touch, everything about you, stayed with him, lingering like a shadow in his mind. And Jungkook knew, with unsettling certainty, that he wouldn't be able to forget you anytime soon. A few days had passed since Jungkook and Jack began investigating the apartment building. They'd been carefully gathering clues, trying to piece together a larger picture. Jungkook had been sneaking in and out of various apartments, all under the guise of delivering pizza or handing out vouchers. Every time he entered, his eyes scanned the tenants, wondering if one of them could be involved in the operation. So far, nothing definitive, just a lot of suspicions. Jack broke the silence, his voice cutting through the tension. Jack, what if we check the elevator cameras? We could analyze the faces of the people getting on and off. We might be able to figure something out. Jungkook nodded slowly, his mind already racing. Jungkook, I've had a few faces in mind that look suspicious, but we need to make sure. Before he could elaborate, his phone vibrated in his pocket, pulling his attention away from the conversation. Jack glanced at him, noticing the ping. Jack, could be a new order. Jungkook pulled out his phone, connected to the main screen where orders were displayed. As the screen loaded, his heart dropped into his stomach. The same damn room. He groaned, the weight of frustration pressing down on him. This wasn't just another delivery. This was the same location, the same apartment that had haunted his thoughts ever since that first delivery. The memory of that day, of you standing in that barely there bathrobe, still lingered, making it harder to focus. Jack, not picking up on the reason for Jungkook's groan, assumed it was just the stress of the investigation. Jack, what's wrong? Jungkook didn't respond at first, instead taking a long breath. He didn't want to admit it, but the truth was, This wasn't just about the investigation anymore. You were distracting him, pulling him in deeper than he ever expected. Jungkook, nothing, he muttered, trying to push the thoughts of you aside. Jack, let's just finish this. Then we can focus on the real work. The minutes dragged on, and Jungkook was standing in front of your door again. This time, however, there was an added sense of urgency. He'd been delayed because of a suspect he'd been following, but now, there was no turning back. The order wasn't paid this time, so he was just going to drop it off for free. He let out a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever lay behind that door. He hesitated but rang the bell and waited, his heart hammering in his chest. The seconds dragged on, stretching longer than they should have. He could hear the faint sounds of footsteps approaching, and for some reason, his heart started beating faster. And then, the door swung open. Jungkook immediately lowered his gaze, focusing on the pizza box. He wasn't going to let himself get distracted this time, not after everything that had happened. His gaze automatically lowered more, and when it did, he instantly regretted it. There, standing before him, was a pair of bare, milky legs that seemed to go on forever. His eyes caught a glimpse of you, standing in front of him in a barely there dress. He felt his resolve crumble. The softness of your skin, your long legs, the way your dress clung to your curves. It was impossible to ignore. No focus, just do your job. He shut his eyes briefly, trying to calm himself. But when he opened them again, his gaze was drawn to your face, your smirk. That same damn smirk that had driven him crazy before. It was playful, teasing, and something about it made his breath catch in his throat. Jungkook, your pizza, he said, his voice coming out hoarse. He forced his eyes to meet yours, his hands trembling slightly as he held out the box. You raised an eyebrow, clearly noticing his discomfort. Yin, you're late, you said, your voice light but filled with a hint of tease. It wasn't just a casual comment. It felt like you were poking at him, like you knew exactly what effect you were having on him. Jungkook blinked, feeling his heart race even faster. Jungkook, I am sorry, miss, he stammered, his fingers tightening on the box. It was supposed to be simple. Just deliver the pizza, get in and out, but it felt like everything had shifted. His hand gripping the pizza box so tightly you thought it might crumble under his nervousness. His entire demeanor screamed discomfort, and you reveled in it. You smirked, letting that satisfied, almost wicked look play on your face. You had him right where you wanted him. After that first encounter, there was a part of you that couldn't stop thinking about him, wondering how far you could push him, how much control you could take, how much of him you could get to unravel under your gaze. Jungkook, I'm really sorry, ma'am, something urgent came up. You raised an eyebrow, pretending to consider his excuse. The moment lingered, and you knew the tension was mounting. You weren't done with him yet. Yin, wife, you asked, your voice innocent enough, but the word hung in the air. Jungkook's face blanched as if you had just hit him with something hard. His eyes widened and the words came out faster than he could stop them. Jungkook, what? No. His mouth snapped shut immediately, but it was too late. He had already reacted. You tilted your head, amusement glimmering in your eyes. Yin, girlfriend then? You pressed, your voice smooth and calm. His breath caught in his throat as he stuttered, his chest tightening. Jungkook, I am single, he said, his voice barely a whisper. The words spilled out before he could even think, and as soon as they did, he regretted it. He could have said he was taken, or that he had a girlfriend, anything that would have shut you down. But now, the damage was done, and the satisfaction in your eyes made his stomach twist uncomfortably. Jungkook, ma'am, pizza, he said, his voice barely audible, as he extended the box toward you. His hand was trembling slightly, and he couldn't hide how rattled he was. You didn't move to take the box. Instead, you shook your head with a playful scoff. Yin, no, you said, letting the word linger in the air between you. You should pay. Jungkook, you're late. I don't want it anymore. Your voice was smooth, and you could see the confusion flashing across his face as he processed your words. You leaned against the doorframe, your posture casual, but your eyes never left his. You were enjoying this, savoring the game. He looked lost, his mind desperately trying to figure out how to fix this, how to make it right. Jungkook, I'm sorry, ma'am, he mumbled, his voice tight with embarrassment. This won't happen again. You can take it for free. He sounded defeated, like he was trying to backpedal out of a hole he'd dug himself into. You didn't show any mercy. Instead, you scoffed lightly, your eyes dancing with amusement. Yin, what to do now? You mused, tapping your finger against your chin. I don't want cold pizza. His face fell. Jungkook, I'll bring you a fresh one, ma'am, he stammered, moving back. I'm sorry. You rolled your eyes, clearly bored with his attempt to leave, but before he could finish his sentence or leave, you moved fast. The change was so sudden that Jungkook didn't even have time to react. Your hand shot up, fingers slipping through the metal part of his belt, pulling him closer in a swift motion. His heart stopped as he stumbled forward, his palm hitting the doorframe with a soft thud to maintain balance. You were so close now, too close, and he could feel the heat radiating off you. The pressure in his chest increased. The world seemed to narrow down to just the two of you, the sound of his heart pounding drowning out everything else. Jungkook, ma'am, Jungkook stuttered, his voice weak. His mind was spinning, his body frozen as he tried to process what just happened. His chest was tight, and he could barely breathe. You tilted your head, a smirk still playing on your lips. As you looked him straight in the eyes, his pulse raced as your fingers lingered on his belt, your grip firm but not enough to hurt. The sensation of your touch was sending jolts of heat through him, making him feel disoriented and out of control. Yin, did I say I wanted one? You whispered, your voice low and teasing, sending a shiver down his spine. Jungkook's mind scrambled. He could get out of this. He could grab you, turn this around, take control. He could do it in an instant, but something inside him stopped him. Something about the way you held him there, the way your grip felt so natural and commanding, made him want to stay. He didn't know what was happening to him, but he was caught in the moment, enjoying the feeling of being at your mercy. There was a fluttering in his stomach, a heat that pooled low in his gut. He was caught, lost in this game you were playing, and despite every instinct telling him to pull away, something kept him rooted to the spot. Yin, what if you pay me in my way, you said, your voice dipping lower, and I'll let you go. Jungkook's heart hammered in his chest as you moved even closer, your lips so close to his ear that he could feel the brush of them. His mind was spinning, his body trembling with the sheer weight of the moment. Jungkook, what do you want? Ma'am, he managed to croak, his voice barely above a whisper. I want to leave. There are more deliveries to do. You smiled, slow and deliberate, savoring the way he squirmed under your touch. Yin, it's not anything complicated, you whispered, your lips so close to his skin that he could feel the warmth. Just a small. You leaned in, your lips brushing against his ear as you whispered, a small kiss will work. Jungkook's heart skipped a beat, his spine tingling as your breath grazed his ear. The sensation shot through him like a lightning bolt, leaving his body frozen in place. His mind was clouded, but one thing was clear, he couldn't focus. The pizza box slipped from his trembling hands and hit the floor with a soft thud, its contents slightly shifting inside. The cold air of the hallway seemed to close in around him. Panic surged through him, but it was mixed with a strange flutter in his stomach, something he couldn't identify. No, how could he be this flustered? He tried to shove himself away from you, taking a few steps back, his body rigid and tense, and he suddenly glared at you. But as soon as his eyes met yours, he couldn't keep the fire in his gaze. His chest tightened, and his face flushed a deeper shade of red. Jungkook, don't talk to me like that, he stammered, his voice low and shaky. He clenched his fists, trying to steady himself, but his words trailed off. His face was burning now, flushed with embarrassment. He could feel the heat rising in his cheeks. Why was this happening? He stuttered, his words faltering, his cheeks burning even hotter than before. You tilted your head, your lips curving into a slow, teasing smile. Yin, you what, sweetheart? The words were like a challenge, a tease, meant to make him crack. His heart thudded painfully in his chest. He could feel his body reacting to you in ways he couldn't control. The teasing in your voice was like a drug, pulling him further into this madness. He quickly turned on his heel, his feet unsteady as he rushed toward the elevator, unable to think, unable to stop himself. His mind screamed at him to get away, but his legs were moving on their own. The elevator doors slid open with a soft ding, and he wasted no time in stepping inside, his back still turned to you. He pressed the button for the ground floor with trembling fingers, his chest tightening as the doors began to close. He couldn't breathe, he couldn't think. Just breathe, calm down, he told himself, but his body betrayed him, his heart still thumping loudly in his chest. His hands gripped the sides of his pants as he tried to steady his erratic breath. Every inch of his body was still tense from the encounter, his mind replaying your words over and over. On the other side of the door, you watched him retreat, a smile playing at the edges of your lips. You could see the way he moved, flustered, frustrated, desperate to get away. You couldn't help but let out a soft laugh as you stood there. Yin, so cute, you muttered to yourself, shaking your head in mock disbelief. You bent down to pick up the pizza box, but you weren't in a rush. You walked leisurely back into the apartment, the playful satisfaction clear in your every step. Inside the elevator, Jungkook sank down against the wall, his legs stretched out before him as he pressed his palm to his chest. His heart was still hammering in his chest. The scent of your perfume still lingered in his nose, and he could almost feel the warmth of your breath against his skin. What the hell was happening? He rubbed his ears, trying to erase the memory, but it was like your breath had burned itself into his skin. The sensation refused to leave him, no matter how hard he tried to shake it off. He slapped himself across the face, the sting a sharp reminder that he needed to focus. He closed his eyes for a moment, willing the dizzying swirl of thoughts to stop, but they wouldn't. No, this wasn't supposed to happen. I should have kept it together. Jungkook, this crazy dirty girl, he muttered under his breath, his words laced with frustration. But deep down, a part of him couldn't deny the way his stomach twisted, the way his body reacted to you. He couldn't remember the last time anyone had made him feel like this, so shaken, so unsettled. His hands gripped the edges of his pants, as if trying to ground himself. He closed his eyes tightly, forcing himself to focus. I won't let this happen again. I won't let her get to me. He squeezed his eyes shut, his jaw clenched in determination. But as hard as he tried to push it away, the memory of you, of your smirk, of the way you had made him feel, it lingered. No, I'm in control here, he thought, his breath still coming unevenly. Not her, never again. But he wasn't sure how long he could keep this up. He wasn't sure how much longer he could resist the pull you had on him. Jungkook stood in front of the elevator, breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling in frustration. No matter how much he tried to resist, no matter how many times he swore he wouldn't let you get under his skin, it was as if you owned him every time you were near. It was driving him insane. You were impossible. You were relentless, calling him at the oddest hours, making him deliver more than 50 orders to your apartment, always finding an excuse to keep him around. You always opened the door wearing something inappropriate, silk robes barely hanging off your shoulders, oversized shirts slipping off one side, shorts that barely qualified as clothing. And the flirting, God, the flirting. It wasn't just words, it was the way you looked at him, the way you touched him unnecessarily, the way your lips hovered too close to his skin when you teased. And the worst part, he let you. No matter how much he resisted, no matter how many times he told himself he wouldn't react, he always did. A bitter, almost amused smile ghosted across his lips as he remembered a particular day. Does it bother you when I flirt with you, Jungkook? Your voice had been soft, yet teasing, your fingers ghosting along his wrist as you asked the question. He had stood there, frozen, his mind going blank. He hadn't answered. He couldn't answer. Instead, he had done what he always did, rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly and run away, like a coward. But today was different. His circumstances had changed. This wasn't just another delivery. His life had taken a sharp, dangerous turn. He had finally uncovered who they were, the men he had been tracking for months, and worse, they had seen his face. Jungkook wasn't scared. He had fought bigger threats, taken down people more dangerous than them. But this wasn't just about survival. It was about power. If he played his cards right, he wouldn't just escape, he would win. But first, he had to make sure he wasn't caught. His eyes darkened as he stepped into the elevator, gripping the pizza box and Coke bottle tightly. Within minutes, he was at your door, his expression carefully neutral. Just as he was about to press the doorbell, his phone buzzed. His heart tightened as he saw the caller ID. He answered immediately. Jungkook. Yes, Mr. Beak? The urgency in the older man's voice sent a chill down his spine. Beak. Jungkook, listen to me carefully. They're in the building. They know what you look like. You need to hide. Now. Jungkook's grip on the phone tightened, his jaw clenching. He flicked his gaze down the hall, scanning for movement. Then, without hesitation, he rang your doorbell. Jungkook, don't worry. Mr. Beak. Beak. Jungkook, don't be reckless. Stick to the plan. Do not engage them until the time is right. Jungkook, I know. He ended the call. Then he heard footsteps. They were close. Jungkook barely had a second to slip his phone into his pocket before the door creaked open slightly. You didn't step out. Instead, you peeked through the small gap, your eyes hazy, your expression slower than usual. Jungkook frowned immediately. She's drunk. The scent of alcohol drifted toward him as you leaned against the doorframe, blinking at him with a lazy, amused smile. Yin. Hey, Jungkook. His heart did an involuntary flip. Not because of your voice, not because of your smile, but because you were wearing that again. One of those damn outfits that made his brain malfunction. He swallowed thickly, keeping his eyes locked on yours, refusing to let them wander. Jungkook, your pizza, ma'am, he said, voice perfectly steady, and with ease he loosened the top of the bottle. You pouted dramatically, swinging the door open fully as you reached for it. Jungkook barely reacted when, with a well-practiced flick of his fingers, he made the Coke bottle slip from his grasp and spill all over his pants. The cold liquid soaked through the fabric instantly, making him hiss under his breath. You gasped. Yin. Oh no. I am sorry, I didn't mean to. Your words tumbled over each other as you looked up at him with wide, guilty eyes. Jungkook didn't have to say anything. He didn't even have to act. You had already fallen right into his plan, and just as expected, Yin, come in, you urged, stepping aside, your fingers lightly tugging at his wrist. Let me clean you up. Your voice was playful but completely unaware of the danger lurking just outside your door. Jungkook forced himself to give a small, embarrassed nod. Jungkook, it's not necessary, he murmured, his voice soft, as if hesitant. But thank you, miss. Before stepping inside, his sharp eyes subtly scanned the area. Clear. Still, he remained on high alert, because outside, the hunt had begun, and he needed to be ready. Jungkook's heart slipped the moment he heard it. The soft, unmistakable click of the lock by you. His eyes flickered toward the door for a brief second, acknowledging what had just happened. But unlike all the other times, he didn't feel that familiar nervousness creeping up his spine. Not tonight. Tonight, he had the upper hand. Because tonight, you weren't in your right mind. You were drunk. His movements were slow as he stepped further inside, his sharp gaze sweeping across your apartment. It was a calm, cozy space, the kind that felt lived in yet well kept, mirroring a side of you he had never taken the time to truly observe before. But then, his eyes landed on something peculiar, and his steps came to a halt. The dining table. His brows twitched in amusement, lips parting slightly in surprise as a quiet chuckle escaped him. There, stacked neatly on top of each other, were dozens of untouched pizza boxes. None were open, none had even been tampered with. It was as if you hadn't been ordering food to eat but rather to collect them like some bizarre display piece. Jungkook tilted his head, the corner of his mouth twitching, and he turned back to you, prepared to ask what this was all about. But he never got the chance. A sudden shove caught him off guard, and before he could even process what was happening, his back hit the couch with a soft thud. His muscles tensed instinctively, his hands gripping the armrests, and for a split second, he was prepared to push himself back up. But then he saw you, kneeling in front of him, a damp towel in your hand, your lips parted slightly as your eyes, dazed and unfocused, locked onto the wet Coke stain on his jeans. Jungkook, ma'am, Jungkook started. But his words caught in his throat as you leaned in, pressing the towel against the fabric, rubbing gently. His body stiffened. Your movements were unhurried, your fingers brushing against his knees every time you adjusted your grip on the towel. A breath hitched in his throat, and before you could go any further, his hands shot out, wrapping around your wrists, halting you in place. His voice came out lower than intended, controlled yet firm. Jungkook, I'll do it. You tilted your head, eyes flickering up to meet his. Yin. No, you shook your head, lips slightly curved as you licked them absent-mindedly. I spilled it. Let me clean it. Jungkook's grip on your wrists tightened for a moment. He tilted his head slightly, observing you. You were swaying slightly, your pupils dilated, and there was a soft, drunken haze in your expression. You looked adorable. For the first time, past all the teasing, the flirtatious smiles, and the overwhelming confidence you always carried, he could finally see through you, a more delicate, vulnerable side. His voice softened. Jungkook, why did you drink so much? You didn't respond immediately. Instead, your lips pressed together, and in a slow, almost hesitant movement, you let your body shift until your head rested against his knees. Jungkook's breath caught. The warmth of your cheek against his knee sent a foreign sensation through his chest, one that tightened and softened at the same time. You looked up at him, your eyes half-lidded, your voice barely above a whisper. Yin. I don't know, I was just feeling upset. Jungkook's fingers twitched. Then, before he could think twice, he reached out. His free hand slipped into your hair, brushing the strands away from your face before trailing down to the back of your head. His fingers moved slowly, massaging softly, soothingly. Your eyelids fluttered shut. Jungkook swallowed thickly. The room fell into silence. For a long moment, neither of you spoke. There was only the distant hum of the city beyond your windows, the steady sound of your breathing, and the gentle way his fingers continued moving through your hair. His heart was beating too fast, but he couldn't bring himself to pull away. The warmth of you against him, the way you allowed yourself to lean into his touch, it was something he never realized he wanted to feel. And then, your voice broke through the quiet. Yin. Jungkook, can we kiss? His entire body froze, his breath hitched, his fingers halting mid-motion in your hair. You didn't move, you didn't even open your eyes, you just stayed there, soft, vulnerable, and completely unguarded. Jungkook's chest tightened painfully. This wasn't the first time you had asked. You had been saying it for days, teasing, flirting, dropping little hints every chance you got. But this time, it was different. There was no mischief in your voice, no playful smirk on your lips. You weren't teasing him, you were simply asking. Jungkook exhaled slowly, his grip on your wrist loosening, his other hand still resting in your hair. His fingers twitched slightly before moving again, brushing through your strands with a gentleness he hadn't realized he was capable of. He didn't know what to do, didn't know how to react, but what he did know was that he was losing control. Jungkook inhaled deeply, subtly testing his own breath. It wasn't strong, good. His eyes flickered back to you, his gaze steady as he took in your features. The scent of wine lingered in the air, wrapping around you like an invisible veil, mixing with something uniquely yours, a scent he had unknowingly grown addicted to. You were still, head resting against his knee, your breathing even, but he knew better. You weren't asleep. You were awake, aware, waiting. His heart pounded as he leaned in, his face heating at the closeness. The space between you felt caging, intoxicating, unbearable. His lips parted slightly, hesitating for just a moment. If he moved even a little closer, his lips would brush against yours. But before he could decide, before he could let himself take what he had been craving for so long, his nose accidentally grazed yours. At that, your eyes snapped open. Jungkook froze, his breath catching in his throat. Before he could react, your fingers slipped into his hair, gripping softly, pulling yourself up. His body stiffened, but his hands instinctively moved to your waist, steadying you as you shifted with practiced ease, settling onto his lap as if you had always belonged there. And then, without a second of hesitation, your lips crashed onto his. His mind went blank. For a single moment, all he could register was the warmth of your lips, the soft yet firm pressure against his own. His grip tightened, fingers digging into your waist as he kissed you back with equal intensity. You tasted like wine, sweet and dangerous, intoxicating in a way that had nothing to do with alcohol. His heart pounded violently, his body reacting before his thoughts could catch up. The kiss deepened, urgent and desperate, his hands roaming over the curve of your back, pulling you impossibly closer. But then, something shifted. Your fingers, once playful and teasing in his hair, tightened suddenly, tugging hard enough to send a sharp jolt down his spine. Your hands moved lower, trailing over his chest, fingers fumbling with the buttons of his shirt, a silent plea for more. His eyes snapped open, his breath uneven as he caught your wrists mid-motion, his lips barely pulling away as he whispered against your mouth, voice low and teasing, "Jungkook, aren't you enjoying this too much?" You didn't open your eyes, didn't hesitate. Instead, a small smirk tugged at the corner of your lips as you whispered, breathy and soft, "Yin, can I?" Jungkook's grip faltered, his heart hammering against his ribcage. Your forehead rested against his, your warm breath fanning over his lips. He wasn't sure now that he was in control. The air between you was thick, your body pressing against him in a way that sent deep in his fingers twitched against your wrists, mind battling between pulling you closer and stopping whatever dangerous game you had started. But before he could make a decision, before he could take or deny what you were so willingly offering, your body suddenly went slack. His arms tightened instinctively as your head dropped onto his shoulder, your weight pressing against him completely. He stilled, listening to your breathing, waiting for you to say something. But you didn't move. You had passed out. Jungkook let out a shaky breath, somewhere between amusement and disbelief. He tilted his head slightly, glancing down at you, your lips slightly parted, your body completely relaxed against his. A soft chuckle escaped his lips, low and breathless. Seriously? After everything? After all the teasing, all the relentless flirting? This was how it ended. A deep sigh left him, but he didn't push you away. Instead, he shifted slightly, adjusting your position in his lap, letting his arms wrap securely around you. His hand found the small of your back, rubbing slow, soothing circles, while his other hand absent-mindedly threaded through your hair. Your warmth seeped into his skin, and for the first time in a long time, Jungkook felt calm. He didn't know when he would get to feel this again. Didn't know if you would ever let your guard down like this once you woke up. Didn't want to risk losing this fleeting moment of peace. So for now, he simply sat there, holding you against him, memorizing the way you felt, the way your breath tickled his skin, the way his heart had never beat this rapidly before. And for now, just for now, he let himself believe you were his. The early morning light seeped through the sheer curtains, painting the area in a soft golden hue. Jungkook stood near the window, his back straight, his hand steady as he held his phone to his ear. His deep brown eyes were locked on his target, a man in a black coat walking briskly toward the jewelry shop across the street. It was rare to see him out like this, so unguarded, so vulnerable, a perfect opportunity. Mr. Beek's voice came through the speaker, firm and calculated. "Jungkook, this is your moment." Jungkook's jaw tightened. He knew that. Jack's voice followed, a little rough with urgency. "Jack, can you take the shot from that apartment?" The second he steps out of the shop, you have to do it. No hesitation. Jungkook's gaze flickered to the side. Through the window, he could see Jack crouched behind a parked car on the opposite side of the street, staying low, hidden from sight. He was positioned well, but the final move, the kill, was Jungkook's responsibility. A smirk tugged at Jungkook's lips. Of course he could do it. That wasn't even a question. His hands never trembled. His aim never missed. And with you still asleep in the bedroom, he had time. He always carried his gun in his pizza delivery bag. It was the perfect cover. No one ever questioned a delivery guy, and it ensured he was never unarmed. Jack's voice snapped him back. "Jack, Jungkook, are you there? Can you do it?" Jungkook exhaled slowly. "Jungkook, yes, I can. Mr. Back's line is disconnected, so stay on the line and update me on his movements." Without hesitation, he unzipped his bag, pulling out his equipment, the sleek black rifle, the custom silencer, the stand. His fingers worked quickly, assembling the weapon with precision. He placed the gun on the stand near the window, adjusting the sight. Through the scope, he could see the entrance of the shop, the glass doors reflecting the empty streets. His finger rested on the trigger, relaxed but ready. Jack's voice crackled again. "Jack, he could be out any second. Be ready. We're ending this today." Jungkook hummed in response, steady, unbothered. But then, his heart stopped. Footsteps, clear footsteps, soft but approaching. His breath hitched, fingers stiffening against the rifle. His mind raced. You were supposed to be asleep. You had been exhausted, barely able to keep your eyes open last night. But you were awake. Jack's voice cut in through his earpiece. "Jack, what happened?" Jungkook didn't answer. His pulse quickened as he reached for his backup plan, a handkerchief and a small vial from the side pocket of the bag. With practiced ease, he sprayed the fabric with a sedative. It was something he kept for enemies. Never in his life had he thought he'd need to use it on you. His legs moved quickly toward your room, his heart pounding. If you saw the rifle, if you realized what was happening, it would be impossible to explain. But it was too late. The second he turned the corner, his body froze. You were already there, standing in the dim morning light, your hair slightly messy from sleep, eyes half lidded with lingering drowsiness. You pressed your fingers to your temple as if trying to ease a headache. Your eyes scanned the room lazily, until they landed on the gun. Your brows furrowed, your head tilted slightly. A slow blink, then, "Yin, what is that?" Your voice was soft, groggy. You weren't fully alert yet, but the confusion was clear. Jungkook didn't flinch, though inside, his mind worked at a rapid pace. Jack had heard your voice. The earpods allowed him to listen to everything. There was silence on the other end for a moment before Jack let out a quiet, stunned breath. Jungkook knew he had to act fast. His grip on the handkerchief tightened behind his back. Then, his entire demeanor shifted. His expression softened, his voice dropping into a smooth, reassuring tone. "Jungkook, nothing, baby. Come here." His voice was warm, inviting, a perfect distraction. Jack inhaled sharply in his ear, likely surprised by how effortlessly Jungkook had slipped into this act. But Jungkook didn't care about Jack's reaction. His only focus was on you, on stopping you. One way or another, you stood frozen, your brows knitting together as confusion settled in. Jungkook's posture was tense, his muscles coiled as if he were bracing for something. His eyes darted toward where the sniper rifle rested. But before you could register the strange setup in your still drowsy mind, he moved, fast. Without a second of hesitation, his hands found your waist, pulling you into him with firm authority. Before you could utter a single word, his lips crashed onto yours. The warmth of his mouth sent a jolt through your body. Your breath hitched. Your mind blinked for a second, caught between the shock of the sudden contact and the intoxicating scent of him. Familiar, comforting, but right now, dangerously deceptive. His lips moved with gentleness, soft yet demanding, trying to pull you into the moment, to make you forget what you had just seen. Your hands hovered in the air, uncertain, your brain struggling to keep up with what was happening. But before you could decide whether to push him away or pull him closer, he shifted. In a swift movement, he spun you around, pressing your back firmly against his chest. His arms locked around your waist in an unbreakable grip, his lips now tracing a slow, deliberate path down your neck. Your body reacted instinctively, relaxing slightly as your eyes fluttered shut at the unfamiliar sensation. The way his lips grazed your skin sent shivers through you. But your mind was still muddled with lingering suspicion. There was something different in the way he touched you. It wasn't just passion, there was urgency, a hidden motive. His breath fanned against your ear as he whispered, his voice deep and intoxicatingly smooth. "Jungkook, you're so sweet." The way he said it made your stomach flutter, and without realizing it, you leaned back into him. That was all he needed. The handkerchief was already in his hand, silent, precise. Before you could even process what was happening, he pressed it against your nose. The sharp chemical scent hit your senses instantly, burning through your awareness like a wildfire. A gasp tried to escape your lips, but it was too late. The dizziness came fast, a heavy, sinking feeling that pulled you under. Jungkook felt your body weaken in his arms, your head falling limply against his shoulder as your breathing slowed. He exhaled sharply, the tension in his shoulders loosening as he caught you effortlessly. For a moment, he simply held you there, staring down at your peaceful face, his expression guilty. His grip was firm but careful as he lifted you into his arms, cradling you against his chest. Your weight was nothing to him, but the situation felt heavier than it should. Without a word, he carried you back to the bedroom, gently placing you onto the bed. His fingers brushed a stray strand of hair away from your face, hesitating for a second longer than necessary. His lips parted slightly, as if he wanted to say something. "Jungkook, I'm really sorry." Then his earpiece crackled. Jack's voice broke through, teasing and sharp. "Jack, what the hell was that? I heard kissing." "Jungkook, you player. Since when did you start pulling moves like that?" Jungkook's face burned instantly. Even in the middle of this mess, Jack still found a way to get under his skin. His ears turned red as he clenched his jaw, swallowing down his embarrassment. "Jungkook, shut up," Jungkook muttered under his breath, stepping away from the bed and heading back to the window. Jack's tone shifted, turning serious. "Jack, Jungkook, the target. He's leaving the shop. I have a visual." Jungkook's focus snapped back into place. His entire demeanor changed in an instant. His eyes darkened, his expression hardening into something unreadable. He reached for the rifle without hesitation, settling into position near the open window. Through the scope, he spotted the man. The target was stepping out of the jewelry shop now, adjusting the strap of the black bag in his hand. He looked relaxed, unaware, vulnerable. Jungkook inhaled slowly, steadying his grip. His finger curled around the trigger. A deep breath. One shot. Silent. Clean. The silencer muffled the sound, but the impact was instant. The man jerked, his body stiffening before he crumpled to the ground. The bag slipping from his grasp. Jewelry spilled onto the pavement, glinting under the morning light. Jungkook didn't flinch, didn't hesitate, didn't even blink. His job was done. Silence followed. Then, Jack's voice burst through the earpiece, loud and ecstatic. "Jack, yes. Yes, yes, that's my boy." Jungkook could hear the shuffle of movement on the other side of the call, the rustling of fabric as Jack and the other bodyguards swiftly emerged from their hiding spots. They moved efficiently, their steps silent as they approached the lifeless body. Jack knelt beside it, checking for any last signs of life, but there was none. A satisfied smirk stretched across his lips. "Jack, clean and perfect, just how I like it." Jack muttered under his breath, giving an approving nod before motioning for the other men. He saw as two bodyguards, dressed in dark attire, stepped forward. Without hesitation, they lifted the body, careful yet quick, moving with practiced ease. There was no panic, no fumbling. This was routine for them. Jack, still grinning, tapped his earpiece. Jack, Jungkook buddy, you are an artist with that gun. Damn, I wish I recorded that shot. Jungkook remained silent, his eyes still locked onto the empty pavement where the body had been just moments ago. His heartbeat had already returned to normal. His fingers flexed slightly before he let go of the rifle, exhaling deeply. There was no need to worry about loose ends. His team had already handled everything. The surveillance cameras, disabled, any potential witnesses, already being dealt with. No one would remember a thing. Jack, we'll let Mr. Beak take over from here, Jack continued, rolling his shoulders as he glanced around. He knew better than to ask too many questions. Mr. Beak would handle the deeper investigation. Who sent the target, why he was there, what he was planning. That wasn't Jungkook's job. Jungkook was just the executioner. Jungkook let out a slow sigh, finally breaking his silence. Jungkook, I'm heading back, Jack chuckled. Jack, yeah, go play house with your little sleeping beauty. I still can't believe you knocked her out like that. Jungkook's jaw tightened, his face heating at the memory. He refused to entertain Jack's teasing and instead pulled off his earpiece, shutting off the conversation. His gaze flickered toward the bedroom door, where you lay unconscious, completely unaware of what had just happened. For a brief moment, an unfamiliar feeling settled in his chest, heavy guilt. His job wasn't over yet. Jungkook stood in the kitchen, the scent of fresh pancakes filling the air as he carefully plated them. A strange sense of peace settled over him, as if a heavy weight had been lifted off his chest. It was unusual for him, standing here, cooking breakfast, doing something so normal. But he needed to do this, for you. It had been over an hour, and he knew you would wake up any moment now. He imagined your sleepy eyes, the way you would scrunch your nose at the sunlight, your hair messy from sleep. The thought made him chuckle softly as he reached for the knife to slice some fruit. But just as he turned, a sharp pain shot across his back, making him flinch and stumble forward. Jungkook, what the? His hand shot up to press against the sore spot as he whipped his head around, only to freeze. There you were. Messy hair, a fiery expression, and red swollen eyes. He knew exactly why. You looked furious. And then, before he could say a word, Yin, you bastard. Your voice was raw with anger, and before he could react, another slipper came flying straight at him. His reflexes kicked in just in time, and he caught it effortlessly in one hand. He sighed. Jungkook, relax. Yin. Who the heck are you? You cut him off, your sharp voice echoing through the kitchen. His brows furrowed as you glanced around the room, scanning everything as if you were trying to piece something together. His breath hitched when he saw your eyes dart toward the vase on the counter. No, the moment your fingers curled around the glass. He lunged, his arms wrapped around you from behind in a swift motion, trapping you against him. Yin, in one fluid movement, he pulled you away from the vase, his grip firm but careful. Yin, let me go. You struggled, twisting in his hold. Then, bam, your elbow jabbed straight into his stomach. Jungkook gritted his teeth as pain shot through him. Shit, that hurt. Before he could react, you turned around and, crack, your fist connected with his face, sending a sharp jolt through his jaw. His head snapped to the side, the metallic taste of blood filling his mouth. For a second, there was silence. Then, to your horror, he smirked, a slow, lazy, and undeniably cocky smirk as he wiped the blood from his lip with his thumb. Jungkook, so you don't like me anymore, huh? He mused, his voice deep and teasing. A few moments ago, you were desperate to kiss me, and now this. Your heart pounded, not just from anger but from frustration. Because he was right. You hated that he still had this effect on you. Hated that despite everything, your body still reacted to him. Yin, who are you? You snapped. Jungkook let out a low chuckle, tilting his head. Jungkook, I'm your pizza boy. You scoffed, rolling your eyes. Yin, yeah, right, you're a gangster, aren't you? He bit back a grin, his heart racing in a way that had nothing to do with the fight. You weren't scared. You should be, but you weren't. Jungkook, you wanna know that bad, huh? Before you could react, he moved, too fast, too close. You barely had time to step back before his hands gripped your wrists, shoving them behind your back. His body pressed against yours, caging you in. His dark eyes locked onto yours, amusement flickering beneath something more dangerous. Possessiveness. Jungkook, you started this, he murmured, his lips mere inches from yours, and then he kissed you. It wasn't gentle, it wasn't soft. It was raw, desperate, and demanding. Your eyes widened, a muffled protest leaving your lips as you tried to push him away. But his grip tightened, his lips moving against yours with purpose, deepening the kiss until your breath hitched. Your body betrayed you, melting against him, even as your mind screamed at you to resist. When he finally pulled away, his gaze burned into yours. His thumb brushed your lips, smearing the trace of his own blood. "Jungkook, it's okay," he murmured, his voice low, firm, and dangerously smooth. "You can trust me. I'm not a bad person, Yin. I had no choice. I had to do that to you. It was just some small problem I had to handle. But I swear to you, I will never let you get caught up in this world." His grip didn't loosen. If anything, it tightened. "I'm still the man you want." His fingers trailed down your cheek, tilting your chin up so you couldn't look away. "Jungkook, the man you crave, the man you want to kiss." Your breath hitched. Your breath hitched. "Tell me, Yin, do you like me?" You swallowed hard, your heart slamming against your ribs. You wanted to deny it, to push him away, but you couldn't. Not really. You weren't afraid of him. You doubted him, yes, but deep down, you wanted to see how far he would go for you. Jungkook saw your hesitation, and his smirk faded. His grip on your wrist tightened slightly before he leaned in again, his lips brushing against your ear. His thumb brushed over your wrist, his touch firm but careful, as if he was afraid to break you, yet unwilling to let go. His jaw clenched, his tongue swiping over his bottom lip as he continued, his voice turning lower, almost possessive. "Jungkook, I don't care how many times you push me away, how many times you try to fight me off, or how many times you pretend you don't feel what's between us. I see it in your eyes, Yin, the same way I feel it in my chest every damn time I look at you. You're mine, and I don't let go of what's mine." His fingers tightened slightly around your wrists, not to hurt you, but to make you listen, to make you feel him. "Jungkook, you think I'm a gangster, that I'm dangerous? Yes, I am. But I'll tell you this right now, I'd burn this whole damn world down before I let anyone lay a finger on you. Do you understand me?" His breath was hot against your skin, his nose barely brushing yours. He let go of your wrists, his hand sliding down to your waist, pulling you impossibly close. "Jungkook, I don't need you to trust me right away. I'll prove it to you, every single day. I'll show you that I'm not the villain in your story. I'm the man who'll protect you, who'll fight for you, who'll love you the way no one else ever will. And when you finally realize that you can't run from this, from us, I'll be right here waiting." Your breath hitched as he leaned in, his lips hovering over yours. His fingers slid to your jaw, tilting your face up with an unspoken command. His dark, piercing eyes locked onto yours, flickering down to your lips for a brief moment before meeting your gaze again. You had done this to him. You were the one who made him fall, the one who made him desperate. So desperate that your presence had become a necessity, something he craved every second of the day. And now, after everything, he wouldn't let you back away. Not when he had already fallen this deep. His thumb traced the corner of your lips as his voice dropped, low and possessive. But for now, before you could process what was happening, his lips crashed against yours. It wasn't a kiss, it was a claim. His hands tightened around your waist, pulling you flush against his chest as if he was trying to fuse you into him, to make you feel everything. The fire, the sincerity, the silent plea hidden beneath the hunger. His lips moved against yours, slow yet firm, demanding yet tender. Every motion, every breath, screamed that he meant every word he had spoken. He tasted like a promise, like an unshakable vow. And just like that, your resolve crumbled. You had spent your whole life alone, surrounded by nothing but empty spaces and broken trust. No one had ever held you like this. No one had ever made promises that felt real. This was different. This was dangerous. But you couldn't resist the temptations. Your arms wrapped around his neck, your body pressing into his as you kissed him back, giving into the temptation, the need, the undeniable truth. You weren't letting him go either. Because deep down, you knew, he was the one.